Hello everybody, welcome to this new episode. In prior video I demonstrated how to read a large Excel file with Talent ETL and dump its contents into a database SQLite. Today I'm going to do the exact same thing but with Java code. In prior demonstration, as you can see on screen, it took only approximately 6 minutes and only 3 components on Talent to get the same job done that we are going to do today. So let's get started. Well, the Excel file that I'm going to read is the one right here. It contains 3 spreadsheets, 3 tabs, and yeah, not much special, just Bitcoin price tracking on the prices on the range of the 30k, 40k, 50k. It contains approximately 85,000 records, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 85,853 records. Today I'm going to reproduce this job. It took quite some time, took like approximately 5 or 6 hours to finish in my computer. So let's get started. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create a project, a Java project. Let's call it from Excel to SQLite. Next I will create a package, and inside I'll create a class. This I will call my entry class. I will activate a public static void main so I get a method for free. And the next thing that I would like to do is just get hold of the libraries that we're going to work with. We're going to work with a Apache POI XML. We're going to use log4j core, and we're going to use SQLite JDBC for connecting with the database. So the first 2 libraries are the ones I need to interact with Excel and spreadsheets and all the Office suite. Whether it is Microsoft or open source. We will look at it in a moment. So let's get hold of those libraries, download them, load them again, and install them. So that is Apache POI XML download. I will start by downloading my libraries. I will grab them. I will place them in this location. That is for the POI. I need log4j.core. Let's get it from this location so I don't have to log4j. And the other one is the SQLite JDBC. So SQLite. So once I have my libraries fully downloaded, I will go on and unpack them. Extract here the log4j, extract here, extract here. Once they are unpacked, I will then include them in my project. I do that by going into the build path, configure build path, click on libraries, click on class path, add external libraries, browse to the destination, and start by adding them. Double click, class path again, add the next one. All of the dependencies should be include, and finally the log4j. So once you have all your libraries included in your project, you can then go ahead and start using them. The first one that I'm going to use, I'm going to import org Apache POI, and with the asterisk I will get everything from there. So here I will create my first method. I'll call this load Excel, and for that I will need to create an XSSF workbook object, which I call WB, and instantiate like this. Next I will need a spreadsheet object, which I will call simply sheet, and I will grab this from my workbook. I will need also to, actually before that I was supposed to create a file input stream. So I will create a file input stream. I will call fi new file input stream, and I will need to indicate where my Excel file is. So I go on and search for my path, and add it here, followed by the name of my Excel file. Just get rid of so many screens, terminals. Some error handling situation, and now we can go on. So I created this, the sheet, and actually I can get the, since I'm not going to create one, I'm going to get sheet at the index. So basically I'm reading this time, so I'm getting the sheet at 0. Index 0 is the very first one that we encounter inside of the document. So once I have that spreadsheet, I can then go on and walk through it. The way I do this is by using two iterators. So the first iterator, which is a generic, I can pass the row object to it, and this will iterate through rows. So I call this row, and I will then use the sheet iterator for this. I need to include this object, so if I just hover over it and scroll a little bit down until the org Apache POI SS, click on it, it will add the object onto my imports. So once I have this, I can start walking through it with a while loop, my first while loop, and I will use the row has next for it, right? So if row has next, then we will step inside of this code. So here I need to create a row element, which I call row, and it will just grab from row next, sorry, from the row iterator. Actually, let's call this row iterator to avoid confusions. Iterator, and from here I will take it from the row iterator next. So here I have my row. I started iterating through the rows. If row iterator has next element and dump it into this variable, the row, using the row iterator. And now I need to create another while loop to iterate through the cells. So for that I will have to create a cell iterator this time. So I use the same method, iterator. Where's the iterator? Iterator, yes. I use again the same generic. This time I give it a cell, and I will call this cell iterator. And this iterator I will grab from the row cell iterator, and I enter into another while loop. Oops. I enter into another while loop. This time I will consider cell iterator has next. If so, that means that I can create a cell which I grab from the cell iterator next. Right? So far I have already the contents of each and every one of the cells, and here I could eventually, at this point we will do that, I could then system out println from my cell get the string value. So let's see how this works. So this is my load Excel, and from here I will be calling my load Excel method. If I complain about little things, change it to static. Okay, I change it to static. Do some error handling, add some throw declarations. Okay, and I will then run. And what it says is cheat in the series out of range, not cheats at blah 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 blah. So it says that there's no cheat at 0. Why is that? Let's analyze this. Well, it appears we forgot something here, right? We are instantiating here a workbook, but we are not telling the guy what to do with the workbook. Actually, we need to pass the file input stream into the workbook. We just created the file input stream, but we didn't do anything with it. So now we are associating this with okay, it's never closed. That's not a problem for now. So let's run again. So it says there has some unhandled exceptions. Okay, here we have some unhandled exception. We add those unhandled exceptions, and then we run. And now it says that the data appears to be in OLE2 format, which means we are working with Linux, Unix-based system. So this is a very simple thing to solve. You might not see this if you are working on Linux, but what it's telling us is that we need to refer to another part of the library, which is the HSSF. So the only thing I need to do in order to solve this is just slightly change this. I will have to just replace the X by H also here, and then let Eclipse suggest the right import. There it is, and now we have the right imports. These we are not using anymore, so I can already just get rid of them. So now I will run the code again, And yes, there it is. Those are the contents of the first tab in my spreadsheet. So now I want to go on and dump those contents into the database. But before that, I need to make sure that we ensure some safety here in the code. So I will make sure that we get, because you see, we are getting string cell value from here, but that might not always be the case. So if cell get type, cell type equals again cell get type, so we need to get the type right, cell type if we have here, let's say, a string. Now the IDE must suggest me the correct way to do this. I just follow its advice. What it did is it's basically just add this type here, right? So I can reference by a short version. So if the cell type equals this, then I will get it as a string. Else if, let me just copy this so we can save some little time. So if we have something like numeric, then I might want to get this differently. I might want to get this value as a numeric value. So the way to do that would be to get numeric cell value, right? And so on. We might also do else if, let's say that the value is blank, because maybe there's something wrong there and we have some blank value. I might still want to just print something, not extract anything, but just maybe print something. So let's run quickly to see that we didn't break anything important. Yeah, it's still working. So next I would like to do something different. Now I'm getting this each row per line. I would like to have a string with a character to divide these, so I can work upon a query that I can easily insert into the database. So what I'm going to do here is that for each row I would like to have a string builder object, string builder SB, let's call it new string builder. Okay, so what I'm going to do, instead of printing this onto the screen, I would like to SB append whatever I extract from here, and I will add a delimiter to my field, and I will do the exact same thing for this, whether it is numeric. I will replace this. I'm not printing anymore, I'm just sorry. Oh. Alright, and the same I want to do for the blank. So instead of extracting documents or values, I will just do this so that I get everything into a string, and I will be able to work later on better with that. So I should be able to print here system out println, take the sb2 string, and by each cycle I'll be printing the lines, right? So we have here, it is semicolons separated. So next I would like to start subdividing my program in a more sensible way. So I will create another class here, and this class I will call let's call it data management, something like that. Here I will create a connection to my database, and I will create a method that will help me process these strings into a query. So here the first thing I'm going to create is a public void, let's call process query. It will then receive a string as input. Let's call it raw query, and what it's going to do is it's going to create an array from that raw query, and let's call this query array. And what it's going to do is going to take the raw query and split it. It will split it by the semicolon. So, and just to test it right now, I'm going to print a length, let's say query array, just one value out of it, just for a test. And if I go back to my my entry, I would like to also outsource this, right? But yes, I would like to outsource this, so I will create another this is the process query. I would like to create something, let's say let's call it loop through Excel, something like that. Public void loop through Excel, I will call it like that, loop through Excel, and I will copy all the things that we have here, including the iterator, the while loop, and these. Let's see if we have yep, I will just copy this into this loop through Excel thing, and I will make sure that this receives this element that I'm using here. So I will make sure that this receives this as an input right here. Okay, so I can work with it. And what's going on here? Syntax error to complete the class body. Maybe I need to wait a minute. Yep, okay. So I will need to import my things. In fact, they are already here. So let's, yeah, I just okay. So now we are not using these things here. I can just get rid of this. Let's wait. Let's don't get rid of everything yet. So the next thing will be to, why did I do that? Well, because we are working right now with only one spreadsheet, right? If I want to work with all the available spreadsheets, I will have to loop through all the spreadsheets, and I don't want my code to get messy. So I will do that right here. I will then create a simple for loop, just a traditional for loop, and I will be calling the code that I just outsourced by every cycle of the loop. So I will create here int e is I is 0, I is smaller than, let's get wb get number of cheats. It will give me the number of cheats here, I++. So now I can easily put this inside, take it to the I, and I need to call this loop through Excel method and pass a sheet one at a time. I might need to instantiate that one. It's not a static one, so I need to instantiate that spreadsheet, that method there. So I have to say a data manager or data management DM. I will call it's a new data management, and I will say DM loop through Excel, and I will pass the sheet. Okay, so now I'll be looping through all the spreadsheets. And why is this okay, it's telling me there's no close. So when it finishes doing all this, after this loop finishes, I would like to close the book, right? Close. And I might also want to close the file input string. So now my code is happy here. I think I don't need to code anything else here in this main class. It looks pretty clean, pretty decent for now. So now we can move on to the loop through Excel method, which is here in my new defined class. I see the code looks also clean here. So when it finishes, what it does, it's right now it's printing on the screen, but instead of printing, or in fact I don't want to print anymore, I want to instead call the, after each row I want to call this other method that I created right here, process query. So I will call process query. Can I just do this process query? Yes. And then I will give the sb to string, which is the string builder that we were working on, the same one that is responsible for printing this onto the screen. But this time I should only see one of those fields being printed out on the screen, just for the test. And yes, there it is. The first field, which is, or actually the second because it's numbered from 0 onwards, is the date. So it's printing the date. So very good. Now here I can work on a query and then connect my database and insert that query. But first I need to go back to my database and see what we can do there. I would like to create a different table. Right now we have one table called history. I will create another table, and let's call this table BTC dump. Let's call it like that, BTC dump. Okay, so the table has the exact same structure as the Excel. Of course, the same columns are represented here. So this was successfully, and let's see the structure. Then we have BTC dump. I will write changes. Let me just close these things just to make sure that we did the right thing. Yes, BTC dump is there. So let's unlock the database, close everything, go back here. So the next step will be to create, I will do this in the same data management class. I will create my connection for the database. The way I do that is by creating a method. This method will be a private method, the one for the connection. It will return a connection object. It will be called con, and here I need to start working with okay, I need to create a connection con from the driver manager, and I need to get the connection and the URL here, and the URL will be that will be JDBC SQLite, and then the address of the location of my database. Database is located at this specific point. I will also give the exact name of my database. Okay, let's just add some safety here. I need to import from SQL these methods. It's complaining because I need to return something, so I need to return the connection actually, and it continues complaining this time about the error handling. Good. What is this? Okay, tells me that it's never been used. Of course, we just made it. And next I will then, well, before I work on the query and the query execution, I will work on the query processing, which is what we're going to do here. So I go back to my database. I have here my BTC dump thing. I will try to browse. I will try to create an empty fake entry so that I can get probably I can get the statement that I need, and that is the statement that I need. I will work on the statement to make it prettier. I will delete this part and replace these quotes, search, and replace these quotes by the simple one. Let's do this in the session. And this query I will then form or transform inside my process query part. So how I'm going to do that is as follows. I will again work on with the string builder this time once more. So the string builder will do string builder SB, I always call it SB, new string builder, and the first thing that I will do with my string builder is determine the first constants of my query. Let's see, what can we, yeah, it's kind of large, but I would like to have everything in a way that I can see it with that. So okay, let's do it like in parts. Let's start by doing this with my stream builder, and then SB append. So I have the into, and from here I might copy all the way until this end. Something like that. And from here I will just SB append. We have until the end of where values start. Yes. So then we have this part, right? Values and the opening. Values, the opening, and this will be for SQLite to suggest an ID. And now we can start populating the values. So SB append. After these we have actually, let's make it a little bit more generic. We have this value, and the separation will be comma, and this for our next value, and the next value will be from the query array. The first value should be the ID, the second value should be the date, or 1 is date. So basically here we take 1, and now we will have to make a standard separation, standard division, which will be this one, and then it will follow with the second value here, and this should be pretty the same all the way. How many? Well, let's take a look. Let's see how many we have there. We have in the structure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 fields. So I will probably press the pause button and do this little boring part. So there we are, back, and then finally we can then form this, and right now just print it onto the screen. What will be the result? We will then just stop it here, and what we have here is we have generated the inserts on this way. Let's just test the insert first of all before we plug it into the real work. And that was a well generated insert. See what it produced, and yes, it basically, it produces the desired effect, I suppose. Let's just delete or just select everything from PTC dump. There we go. So the next thing that I want to do is pass this query to the query execution process that I haven't created yet. Where's my Eclipse? Did I close my Eclipse? Oh, I did close my Eclipse. Okay, let's just launch Eclipse again. So there's Eclipse back, and we just need a final piece of code to get this all working, and that will be a public void insert. This is going to be public, although it can be as well be private. We are going to use it only from here. Private void insert execution, we call this. This will take as input a string query, this time no raw query but just query, and it will use the connection to create a connection object here, connection con, and then we're going to use that connection to execute con. Actually we need to create a statement, right? Create statement and execute execute string. So the string will be the query that we'll be receiving there, and after this execution is done, we will close the connection, close, something like that. I add some throw declarations all over. Why it's telling me this? Remove method insert execution. Why? The method insert execution string from the type data match is never used locally. Okay, no problem. Okay, so then here we will call this method. This is a private, so I might as well use it as a private insert execution, and I will give the SB to string. And finally, just little throws on handle the errors here on handle exception. Okay, you're telling me to the exception is on handle, but you're not giving me. Okay, yes, add throw declaration here and there, and finally we have some on handle declarations here and here. I save. I still have some things that I might need to worry about here. Yes, I need to handle exceptions all over the place, handle exceptions here as well. Save, and everything looks clean now. So quick review, we have two classes. It could have been three classes. I made it in two classes. First class, it takes with a file input string, with an instance of the file input string, it instantiates a workbook. Then it walks through all the spreadsheets one by one. By each instance, it will send the sheet, complete sheet, to this method here, which just loop through the Excel. It does what it is named to do, uses the iterator, and we use two while loops, one inside of another. The first one iterates through the rows, the second one iterates through the cells. Check out the data type of each cell before extracting its data, so that we can extract the data in the correct formats. It creates a string out of each row and passes that string to the process query method, which in turn takes care of building up a query, insert query. Once the query is built, it passes to the insert execution, which only executes the query with help of the connection that we created here, connection to the database. And that's pretty much it. That's what it does. I will just run it and stop it because it's gonna take long, but just to see it working. Let's give it a run, and there we go. It is printing and inserting data into the database. So that's all for the moment. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful, and cheers.